Hi everybody, I'm glad you're here. Thank you very much for joining me on this Sunday. It's November 19th, 2023. It seems like a lot of people don't know that they should refrigerate their food after it's been cooked and often leave it out overnight on the stove or on the counter, only to put it away the next day. Many people don't know that rice cannot be left out overnight. There seems to be a rise lately of people eating food that has gone bad, and some probably don't realize that rice is one of those foods that bacteria can thrive, even if it hasn't spoiled or gone bad. The temperature of the refrigerator is generally about 41 degrees. At such temperatures, the growth and reproduction of bacteria will be effectively inhibited. Cooked rice can be in the refrigerator from 3 to 4 days. Reheating cooked rice can have unexpected benefits for your body. Rice is more problematic than some other leftover foods, as it may contain bacteria called Bacillus cereus, which survive some cooking processes. This bacteria is often the cause of food poisoning from reheating or cooked rice. Food poisoning usually causes diarrhea and vomiting and causes severe complications in people with other health issues. Once cooked, food should not be kept out more than 2 hours. Throw away any leftovers kept at room temperature for more than 2 hours. Leftover foods can be stored in the refrigerator for about 3 to 4 days or in the freezer. If reheating in a microwave, it should be heated for about 3 to 4 minutes until piping hot throughout. Make sure the internal temperature of rice is at 165 degrees or hotter. If you're reheating rice in a wok or a saute pan, you can use an oil of your choice. Turn the stove on to medium heat, stirring the rice continuously, making sure you break up the clumps of rice. Stir continuously to cover the rice evenly in oil, and use a thermometer to make sure internal temperature is at least 165 degrees. If you want to steam leftover rice, place the rice in a saucepan with 1 to 2 tablespoons of butter or oil. Add 1 to 2 tablespoons of water for each cup of rice and bring it to a simmer. Keep the lid on the saucepan, stir occasionally, and once the water has boiled off, check the internal temperature. See if it's above 165 degrees and serve immediately piping hot. Research has shown that reheated cooked rice has nearly a 10-fold increase in resistant starch. Resistant starch is a special carbohydrate that cannot be digested and absorbed by the small intestine, but feeds the beneficial bacteria in the large intestine. At the same time, resistant starch can also reduce the risk of high blood pressure, high blood lipids, high blood sugar, and obesity. When resistant starches reach the colon, the microbiota can convert these starches into short-chain fatty acids. They can support the immune development, provide energy for colonic cells, promote the feeling of fullness, and if you have the feeling of fullness, you eat less. Create a more acidic environment in the colon, which has been shown to increase the uptake of minerals such as calcium, as well as inhibit the absorption of toxic compounds and inhibit the growth of certain unwanted bacteria. Resistant starch intake is not just in rice, but also pastas and potatoes. Now, reheating your food will not destroy the resistant starch as long as the temperature does not exceed 140 degrees Fahrenheit. Additionally, adding an acidic dressing such as some type of vinegar to the rice or potatoes cooked in this fashion seems to help enhance the resistant rice content and formation. So which is better for you, potatoes or rice? Potatoes contain essential vitamins and minerals, including vitamin C, potassium, vitamin B6, and magnesium. Vitamin C is an antioxidant that boosts the immune system, while potassium is essential for maintaining proper heart function, and blood pressure. Vitamin B6 supports cognitive health and metabolical, while magnesium is involved in both bone health and collagen production. Whereas rice comes in many different varieties, with white rice being the most common. Rice is primarily composed of carbohydrates, which provide a quick source of energy. However, it is relatively low in dietary fiber compared to other whole grains like brown rice. White rice is often enriched. They add the essential nutrients like iron, thiamine, niacin, and folate to compensate for the loss of the nutrients during processing. Brown rice, on the other hand, retains the bran and germ layers, making it more nutrient-dense option. The carbohydrates in potatoes supply a readily available source of energy, making them an ideal choice for active individuals and athletes. Rich in potassium, potatoes contribute to maintaining healthy blood pressure levels and promoting healthy heart due to their high potassium content. Eating potatoes with the skin provides additional fiber, vitamins, and minerals, enhancing their nutritional value. Both potatoes and rice can be part of a healthy diet when consumed in appropriate portions. Moderation is the key to avoid excessive calorie intake. Pairing rice with a variety of vegetables, legumes, and proteins can enhance its nutritional value and create a well-rounded meal. To opt for a healthier cooking method for potatoes, like baking or boiling, to preserve its nutrients in potatoes rather than deep frying. The debate of whether potatoes are better than rice or vice versa is multifaceted and depends on various factors. Both foods offer valuable nutritional benefits and can be part of a healthy, balanced diet. Potatoes provide a sustained source of energy, valuable nutrients, and a culinary variety, while white rice offers a quick energy and enriched nutrients, with brown rice being a more nutrient-dense option. The main reason I looked into this and about reheating food and food storage was because if World War III does start, it will probably more likely start with a high-altitude EMP detection. Our modern society really depends a lot on electricity. Everything runs on electricity. Our electric grid is powered by 3,000 DHV transformers. Only 2 countries in the world make them for export, that is Germany and South Korea. EVH transformers are the technological foundation of our modern electric civilization, as they make it possible to transmit electrical power over great distances. An EHV transformer typically is large as a house, weighs hundreds of tons, costs millions of dollars, and cannot be mass-produced but must be custom-made by hand. Making a single EHV transformer takes about 18 months. The annual worldwide production of EHV transformers is about 200 per year. EHV transformers are no longer manufactured here in the United States. Because of their great size and cost, the U.S. electric utilities have very few spare EHV transformers. This is why they have to be imported. In the event damage does occur to hundreds or even as few as 9 EHV transformers in the United States, it could plunge the nation into a protracted blackout lasting anywhere from months to, more than likely, 2 years or longer. Depending on the situation, if it was a world war, would there be linemen out there to install these things? Another thing to consider, which I didn't know about, is that EMPs arrive in 3 phases. A near instantaneous power pulse, known as E1. The E1 can destroy computers and communication equipment, and it charges too quickly in a nanosecond for ordinary surge protectors to provide effective protection from it. A E1 is produced when gamma radiation from the nuclear detonation ionizes, strips electrons from the atoms in the upper atmosphere. So fast, it travels 90% of the speed of light. The E2 component, generated by the nuclear blast, has many similarities to lightning, although lightning-induced E2 may be considerably larger than a nuclear E2 because of the similarities and widespread use of lightning protection technology. E2 is generally considered to be the easiest to protect against. According to the United States EMP Commission, the main problem with E2 is that it immediately follows the E1, which may have already damaged the devices that would normally be protected against E2. So you may have the E2, but the E1 has already destroyed the protection. The E3 component is different from E1 and E2. E3 is a much slower pulse, lasting tens to hundreds of seconds. It is caused by the nuclear detonation's temporary distortion of the Earth's magnetic field. The E3 component has similarities to a geomagnetic storm. Like a geomagnetic storm, E3 can produce geomagnetically induced currents in long electrical conductors, damaging components such as power line transformers. A solar EMP does not include an E1 or E2. I have several backup power generators that could run my freezers and my refrigerators, but if the freezer and the refrigerator were hooked up to the grid during a nuclear detonation, they would be fried. I wouldn't have the means to keep things cold or frozen. Kind of reminds me of a time that I went camping years and years ago, and the camper freezer went out, and we had, I think it was, a gallon or maybe 3 gallons of ice cream, and we were forced to eat it at night. It was a warm summer evening, and when it was discovered that the refrigerator and freezer wasn't working, we were forced to eat as much ice cream as we could before it just ended up in a melted puddle. So I think people are going to have to learn how to only cook what they're going to need for foods, because you're not going to be able to keep it after 2 hours for use for the next day, unless by some chance, some fate, your refrigerator and freezer were not hooked up at the time, or you could find one that was in storage somewhere that still may be working. Maybe that's something you should consider. It would be an expensive item to have in your prepper supplies, a refrigerator or freezer that is not hooked up to the grid. But just like cars, trucks, things like that, there's no guarantee that they will still work because of all the small electronic components they have inside. Then you have the threat of after maybe 2 days there'd be rioting. If our country doesn't have power for several months or even 2 years, they're saying probably 2 years or longer. Yeah, people will be first stealing from you, and then the violence would break out. And people talk. I mean, us in the prepper community, we got family members that know we are prepared. And when word gets out that you do have supplies, first they'll come and try and negotiate with you. And then later that will probably turn to violence to take what you have stored. A lot of people out there think, well, I'll go out and hunt and fish. But all you have to do is look at history. After a short period of time, there won't be anything out there to hunt or fish. This is why we have hunting season, so that animals are not hunted to extinction. There actually has been events of starvation in other countries where people hunted down others' pets, stray dogs, stray cats. And depending on your own social values, are you going to become like the downer party, resort to cannibalism? Most people here in the United States do not have the life skills for a long-term down-grid situation. You won't have the internet to look up how to grow a crop or raise chickens or slaughter a pig or how to clean some animal that you recently killed. They don't know how to store food during the winter when things are not growing. There'll be no access to 911. There'll be no police to call because the police radios won't be working. No fire departments to put out fires. There won't be any waters in the pipes. Pumping stations for sewer companies. You'll have sewer backing up into your homes and basements. Where are you going to get water when the sewer companies are emptying the sewage into waters and streams because the sewer companies aren't working? Transportation for goods will be shut down. How the truck's going to ship the goods if they don't know who needs it or where they need it? How is it going to be produced when the factories don't have power? They won't be able to plant the crops if there's no fuel to be obtained, or the equipment in the tractors was fried from the EMP. Even if only 15 to 30% of the cars stop running because of the EMP, that's still going to create hazards, blockages of roads to get around. This is where books come in handy for learning life skills, having the books on hand. There won't be internet to look up different things. You won't have the libraries open, and most libraries only have one copy of different types of books to learn from, to find out the answer to your questions. Mentally, how are people going to cope during such a situation? What are people going to do when they have no formula for the babies, no diapers for the babies? What are they going to do when they see their children slowly starving? No hospitals if you need to take them to the doctors or yourself or a loved one. What are the doctors and nurses going to do when the medication they have on hand runs out? This is why they say within the first year, 90% of Americans would be dead. They have no life skills and they're not prepared. Many only prepare for short-term disasters such as a tornado or maybe 3 days of no power, maybe a week, but they don't prepare for months or years of no power and all the things that are connected that need that power and the communication that is needed to talk to other people and to coordinate things. So what are your thoughts? Put your comments down below. Thank you very much for watching. Thank you for subscribing. Please like, share, and subscribe. And I'll talk to you later. God bless you. Bye.